Hello, I'm Lewis, and what we've got here is a several-part video series on using Vectorworks, Lightwrite, Capture, and ETC Nomad software to get us some visualization going. So we're going to start with a little scenario here. We have our theater is a very small one. In fact, it's a bar. We've been contracted to light, and we have a very short amount of queuing time. We're going to get 10 minutes or so before the show starts. Let's check out our queues and see how things are going to go. So we think we're going to make a model and visualize a little so we can build queues outside of the space. So I've got our model finished here to a degree. I've got one electric in, a couple pipes down the side. We're going to put two more pipes in up here. And we're going to work on some of our 3D considerations that we have to work out before we can export things into Capture. So take a look at our model here. We've made our first electric and we've made our pipes. And what these are hybrid objects. The reason for that is, if it's a 2D object and you're exporting to a 3D format, it doesn't. I've got some electrics. Drop our second electric symbol in right on this construction line. And let's drop another symbol in. And we'll drag it over. Okay. So let's edit our 2D component and let's see what's going on here. Our 2D component is just this flat rectangle. It sits in our inch and a corner class. And if we copy that, and then we go to our 3D component, let's delete what we've already got here. We're going to paste in place. And so now I have a flat thing ready to be extruded. This guy an inch and a quarter. And then we're going to give it a 3D fillet, turn it into an actual pipe. Make our fillet radius 1.25 over 2. We use Shift to select all sides at once. Enter. And let's see our pipe. Ain't it pretty? We did the same for our second electric. And we can delete our little construction lines at this point. Okay. Let's make our instrument layer visible. And we'll go over the inventory we have here. The Capture Student Edition comes with some ETC zoom fixtures, moving lights, and floods, and some generics with pars and things like that. So we're going to be kind of stuck for choice on our instruments and systems. But what's important here is that our instruments need to be in 3D. We're going to import them and we're just going to drag and drop to replace them. We need to know where they are. They need to exist in 3 dimensions in our file. But a standard 3-dimensional object in Vectorworks that you've created also contains everything there is to know about how that object was drawn, subtracted, added, anything like that. So you can end up in a pretty problematic situation where you have an enormous file with all this information that you really don't need anymore. we're going to do is convert these and do two things. We're going to use a nested symbol, that is, every light that looks similar is going to keep the same symbol. And then we're going to use generic solids, convert these into the simplest possible form. One that won't be editable anymore, but it will save us a whole bunch of space and RAM. So let's head on to our top view. We see the sky. It is a 36 degree. So here in our inventory, what we're going to do is go edit the sky. As you can see, he's got no 3D component right now. He does have a 2D component. So let's see his 2D component. Right there. Now, for this case, it's a 36. It has no markings in it whatsoever. Another one would have, say, a slash across it. So what we're going to do is make our own base symbol that includes nothing but the outline of a source form. Easy enough to do. Create symbol, not create group. Create symbol, name, and I'm going to get a nice little tool, the split tool. Here you can split by point, split by line, and you can also choose to split everything or split only selected objects. We're going to split by line, split only selected objects. This chunk of do it right in place. See this segment angle thing here. A tiny segment angle means it gives us tiny chunks or a smoother sweep. And a bigger segment angle, it'll really show up if you go up to like 60 or 70 degrees. It'll be cut into big chunks and look like a. I'm here at 9 feet for everybody. Our generic solids, and I'm going to show you a problem that's going to come up when we do just a standard export and don't really think about our units and scales. Export to 3S. Visible objects, just all again. Let's start out with one scale. You can see we can export these textures where we want. Our program Capture has its own textures, so we can use those when we want to. Here we go. Oh yeah, export. If we are in Capture. We're just going to go to File, Import Model, import that we just exported, and it comes into this cool import viewer. So if you click on it, you can select individual things to drag and drop in. You can select the whole thing. Down here, see it's got layer choices. These files have nothing to do with layers. So whether you choose all referenced or none, nothing happens. We got these little arrows down here, and our view changers here. So we can change green to change the view, so we can see the little arrow. Drag it, drop it at original position to one of our views. You can always change these views. You can have your own top, front, section views, however you feel. So let's zoom on out. So the way this looks right now is that we've successfully imported. We haven't. And grab people. I'm going to drop my guy right onto the stage. He's there. We go. We're 9 feet from the grid. Let's zoom on in. Keep zooming, keep zooming, keep zooming, keep zooming. There he is. Okay, what happened? Oh, Capture works in metric. We're it to convert everything to imperial, just kind of to fool us. Its units are still metric, and really you can forgive any programmer for not wanting to deal with converting the units that the program works in. They can just kind of transform everything to display it. So a 3ds file, when it's exported, it has no unit associations with it. It says, hey, I'm 9 units tall, 10 units wide, 6 units deep, but there's no, this doesn't say I'm so many feet deep, so many millimeters, or whatever you might have. So we end up with a transformation problem where the units we're working in get multiplied by 1,000, because Capture says, oh, well, you're bringing in a file with units. Those units are probably millimeters. We work in meters here, so we're going to multiply that by 1,000. And then we see under our design class, let's see. And we go down. That gets scaled. Drawing. We're going millimeters times 1,000. Then we're going meters times 3 foot 3 to get us to feet. So we end up exporting something that's 9 feet and get something that's 9,000 times. So if your stage isn't miles wide, we'll go back to Vectorworks and show how we can fix this. Back in. This file and find a scale. Yes, maybe make a custom scale, do the math. Let's not. Let's change our document unit settings. Let's say our units are millimeters. Now our units are millimeters, and let's export our 3ds file. Got a small file, we can export plenty of polygons, still in 1:1 scale. Export we go. Import. And we just exported. We're going to drag and drop it back in. Little arrow. Drag and drop. Okay. Now it's here. But it's still 3 and change times larger than it should be. Because now we've got something that's, we're exporting in millimeters, we're importing it in millimeters, it's being transformed to meters, and then multiplied by 3 foot 3.4 inches to be transformed to feet. So let's say our drawing unit is actually just 1 millimeter. It becomes tiny, but our scale is now right. So if I grab that guy again, drop him in here. Gosh, he looks a little better now. Let's zoom in, let's get a front perspective view. So we said we had a theater with a 9-foot sun. As long as we're working in imperial units, everything else will be transformed to fool us into looking like it's imperial units, and we'll be living in the right scale. So, before we conclude this video, let's start dragging and dropping some of our instruments. We've got our import. Give it a save. See new fixtures. Now, we brought these over. In addition, you don't get a lot of choice. Degrees zoom and please click and drag. You can see why our orientation didn't matter, because they just turned into straight down units. That purple signifies it. Select multiple units. Back. We're EDB, I think. That's where these guys. Those find the for these. I'll see you in the next session. Programs we're using here will be included in links down below. I understand that for those of you who don't have student IDs, things like Vectorworks, Lightwrite, and Capture can become very expensive, and we'll talk about some of the free versions in a future video.